The topic of today in the series of training and development is the training methods. As you all know, training and development is a framework for helping the employees to develop their personal and organizational skills, knowledge and abilities. Training is so important that it helps in inculcating good skills, organizational, be it personal, be it knowledge, be it ability, be it skill. So it enhances the capabilities of the employees. Now, training is a subsystem that acquaints the people with the material and the technology. It also helps them to learn how to use the material in an approved fashion that allows the organization to reach its desired output. As and when we grow in an organization, the type of profiles which we are into, they move on a higher step of the hierarchy, and definitely you have not done that work before. So all these things, that is the promotion, development and moving on to the higher step in the hierarchy in the organizational structure, for this the training and development is mandatory, and it definitely helps the organizational people, employees, to step up their skills, to step up their abilities and to step up their knowledge. With these words, let us move on. Employee training and development is required as a part of professional development plan and as a part of succession planning to help an employee be eligible for a planned change in the role of the organization. To imbibe and inculcate a new technology in the system because of the dynamic nature of the business world and the changing technologies. Now, as a matter of fact, the management development is a process through which the managers learn and improve their skills, not only to benefit themselves but also to their organization. In organizational development, the effectiveness of management is recognized as one of the departmental organizational success. Therefore, investment in management development can have a direct economic benefit to the organization. As a matter of fact, when you talk about training and development, there are a lot of structured programs which the organizational people will organize, and as a matter of fact, the employees who are a parcel of that training program, the takeaways for them would be very, very good. And of course, it is a win-win situation for the organization as well as for the employees, because it is going to have a direct spill over on the organizational success, and of course, it will also have a direct benefit on the organizational profit as well, because people would economize on time, people will economize on technology, people will economize on the resources which they are using. The managers are exposed to the learning opportunities while doing their jobs, and in this formal learning is used as a formal process, then it is regarded as a management development. Management development includes the structured informal learning of the work-based methods aimed at structuring the informal learning which will always take place. Every day when you talk about the formal structure of training and development programs, and even for that matter, the internal informal, the structure of the organization is a learning experience for the employees. If it is a formal, definitely whatever is structured in that particular module of training and development, the takeaways would be immense. But if it is an informal part, that is they are just doing their work in the organization, still every day is a good learning experience, because they would see how their elders are doing, how their the people who are higher in hierarchy are doing. So they would just connect themselves that if they are promoted to this position, how we are going to work and how they are going to work. So definitely all these formal and informal learning environment is very, very good for the organization as a whole. But let us now talk more about the formal training courses, because it is one of the prime locus of the organization that they have to conduct these kind of programs, because they want the takeaways to be good, they want the economization of the resources, because we have a limited resources in the organization. So we will talk more about the formal training courses. So when you talk about the formal training courses of the various kinds, from very specific courses on the technical aspects of the job to the courses on a wider management skills and the education, which might range from the courses for prospective junior managers or the team leaders. And it is definitely important to know that the acquisition of the knowledge is very different from the acquisition of the skills. It is generally accepted that people learn skills 65% of doing, 25% of seeing, and 10% of hearing, whilst on the other hand, knowledge is generally acquired 75% of seeing, 15% by hearing, and 10% by doing, that is by experience. So these are the very, very important and amazing facts which you have to understand. So I would like to have a reiterate of all the percentages of basically the learning and about the difference in the knowledge and how they are different as far as the takeaways is concerned. So let me first give you first thing about how the people learn. So it is generally accepted by the people that they learn the skills. Definitely skills are hands-on and they learn maximum when they do it, and practice makes a man perfect. So 65% of the skills are acquired when they are actually on the hands-on training. And if they just have a look on what they are doing, so it is the takeaways are only 25%. And if they only hear some kind of a video or some kind of an audio, if you're just into a hearing part, so by hearing the takeaways would be substantially less, from 65% of doing to only 10% of by hearing. So on the other hand, if we compare having a skills difference and the knowledge difference, it is just reverse. The knowledge is acquired mainly by seeing, that is 75% of your takeaways as far as the learning and the knowledge part is concerned is 75%. And if you just hear to what the people are saying, so it would be 15%. And if you do it and try to do it by experience or by action, it is only 10%. So you have to keep this in mind while formulating the training programs, that as far as you want to you want the people of your organizations and the employee of the organizations to learn, then you have to give them, of course, the maximum hands-on training programs. So the various methods of training have been evolved and one method or the combination of any two other methods can be used depending upon the training requirements and the level of the people to be trained. The employees who are to be trained can be different types, and each type would require a different type of a training. Therefore, the methods of training must be appropriate to the level of employees, the nature of task, and the purpose of the training. Unskilled workers are given a training in the improved methods by handling of the machines and materials. The objective here is to secure a reduction in the cost of production and the waste. Training is given on the job itself by immediate supervisor officers. So therefore, you have to keep this in mind as a professional in the organization, that when you talk about the methods of the training, it should be appropriate. There should not be any compromise on the level and the type of the training program which you are conducting. The purpose should be crystal clear, the nature of the task should be crystal clear, and you should know your employees' level. Are they untrained? Question mark. Are they trained? Again a question mark. Are they semi-trained? Again a question mark. So you have a variety of the people in the organization, and of course you cannot have one solution for different question papers. So every question paper, that is every worker I'm talking about in this, I'm just giving you an example here. If the people are untrained, the level of the training program would be different. If they are semi-skilled, it would be different, and if they are totally unskilled, it has to be different. But definitely in all these cases, there has to be an interplay and interaction of the machines, materials, money, men, etc. So you have to be very cautious about making of the objectives and the kind of takeaways you want. And of course, the training, definitely, as I told you, that these are related with the skills, etc. So it has to be a hands-on training, because it is an empirical proved thing that when you talk about the skills and the training programs, the takeaways are maximum when they are given the hands-on. So here the training is given on the job itself by the immediate superior officers. When you talk about now the semi-skilled workers, they require training to cope up with the requirements arising out of the adoption of mechanization, rationalization and the technical process. So, the semi-trained workers, they are having a different set of skills because they know partially what they have to do, how they have to do, but they don't have the perfection of adoption of the mechanization in terms of rationalization and the technical process. So, they have to be trained in this regard. So, it is definitely going to give a good mileage to the organization as a whole. Training is given by more proficient workers, bosses or inspectors, and of course this is a very important thing to be kept in mind, because people who already know about it, so they can give you the best. So the training is given by more proficient workers, bosses and inspectors. It may be given either in the section or the department of the workers or in a segregated training shops. So whether it has to be a hands-on within the department or it has to be a separate training room outside the organization, office, etc., they have to be very customarily designed. And definitely all the custom modules are very important, and the people who are a part and parcel of organizing of the training programs, they have to kept in mind that whether the takeaways would be beneficial if it is online, if it is offline, if it is on the job, if it is off the job, if it is within the current working conditions or it has to be an outside working condition. So they have to, customize the training modules according to the type of workers they want, according to the type of outcomes do they want, according to the type of training programs do they want, etc. The skilled workers are given the training through apprenticeship in the training centers or in the industry itself. The salesmen are trained in the art of salesmanship, in handling the customers, in planning their work, in facing the challenges of the marketplace. So let me elaborate on these aspects. The job of the salesman is definitely an art, because the ultimate success of a salesman is that if he is able to sell a comb to a bald man, that is the optimal success of a salesman. The salesman job is to convince the thoughts of the customers into a buying action, and this is what is most important. There are so many queries of the customers, so if they are able to handle them, they have to plan their job. That if there are frequently asked questions from the customers, how they have to counter that, how they have to face the challenge relating to those questions, how they have to be placed in the marketplace, how they have to prove that their product is different from the others, their product is better than the others. So all these things have to be kept in mind for overall success of the organization, the sales aspect. Now let me come on to a supervisory staff. What is a supervisory staff? The supervisory staff constitutes a very important link in the chain of administration. They have to cope up with the increasing demands of the enterprise in which they are employed and to develop a team spirit among the people under their charge. The training program for them should aim to help the supervisors to improve their performance and to prepare them for assuming a greater responsibility at a higher level of management. Now we move on to the methods of training. There are various methods of training which are available in the organizational setup. Which method to adopt, which category to adopt, how they have to be adopted. There are so many factors which will affect whether your workers are skilled, unskilled, junior, senior, etc., whether it is at a managerial level or it is at an operational level or it is a non-managerial level. So there are so many ifs and buts, there are so many factors, there are so many drivers, there are so many other things which revolve around that for an organization which particular method would be good. So moving on with this backdrop, let us first discuss that which method and how and why, merits, demerits, etc. of each method. Each organization has to choose a method and a technique of training which are relevant for the training needs. All training methods can be broadly classified as on the job, vestibule or training centers training, and next is your off-the-job methods. The methods to be used in a particular case depends upon the consideration of a number of trainees, nature of work, facilities available for training. Some important methods of training the operational employees are as follows. So, the methods of training, when you talk about first on the job training, first we have coaching, the second we have an understudy, the third we have position rotation. Second type of program is your vestibule training. The third is your off-the-job training. Next we have a special lecture cum discussion, conference, case study, sensitivity training, special projects, committee assignments. Now we will first discuss about on-the-job training. On-the-job training is considered to be the most effective and the oldest method of training the operating personnel. Under the method, the worker is trained by his immediate superior at the workplace. It is based on the principle of learning by doing. The worker learns in the actual work environment, and it is suitable for imparting the skills that can be learned in a relatively shorter period of time. It permits the trainee to learn on the equipment and the work environment. On-the-job training methods are relatively cheaper and less time consuming. When you talk about the first which we are discussing on the job, there are certain very good merits that it permits the trainee to learn on the equipment which he has to handle in the future. Number two, when you talk about on-the-job training methods, they are relatively cheaper in cost. Why? Because you do not have to make separate arrangements for the training modules. Then of course it is less time consuming. So you have to, consider the merits are so good that you just cannot ignore them. And of course, you can immediately plan in a shorter period of time which is good for you and which is not good for you. Another important factor about on-the-job training is that the supervisors play a very vital role in training the subordinates. Training is placed in a new job, told how it has to be performed. Then of course this method aims at developing the skills and the habits constitute with the existing practices. The coaching and the instruction is done by a special training instructors and the supervisors. Variety of training aids and techniques are used, such as procedures, charts, lectures, manuals, sample, problems, demonstrations, oral, written, tape recorders, etc. So, on-the-job training can be defined as an activity undertaken at the workplace which is designed to improve an organizational skills and knowledge. So, it is a very popular method and many of the organizations they are always ready to do the on-the-job training in a very short span of time because they have everything ready. The only thing which they have to do is they have to plan their plan of action in terms of what, how, when, where. The employees have to be given the lectures in this regard and the hands-on training in this regard. Now, it is a well-established and well-used intervention designed to enhance the individual skills and capabilities with the characteristics of being delivered on one-to-one basis and taking place at the trainee's place of work, requiring time to take place, including the potential methods when there is a little or no useful output or the products and the services and being specified planned. Generally, on-the-job training takes place in a normal workstation and the task often contributing to the output of the department. The advantages of on-the-job techniques are that these are highly practical. Employees do not lose working time while they are learning. The orientation, job instruction, training apprenticeships, interns, assistantships, job rotation, coaching are amongst the most important on-the-job training. On-the-job training may take any one or more of the following forms. So, first which we are going to discuss as far as the on-the-job training is coaching. What is coaching? It is a very well known word. Now, in this form, a superior teaches the job knowledge, the techniques to a subordinate. The worker learns by doing his job. The training is combined with the routine job, and this method is very effective if the superior has sufficient time to provide the coaching to his subordinates. Now, the second type of on-the-job training is your understudy. What is an understudy? Under this method, the trainee is designated as the higher apprentice to his boss. He gets training from his superior and his future is dependent upon the fate of the boss. This method is used when a person is prepared to fill a vacancy caused by a retirement, caused by death, caused by promotion, and caused by a transfer of the superior. So, this particular method is one of its own kind. This is understudy, under which the particular trainee is strictly under the superior or his boss. Whatever he teaches, he has to take that, and the complete entire future of the trainee is under the boss himself. So, this method is used when a person is prepared to fill a vacancy which is caused by many factors like retirement, death, promotion, transfer, etc. The superior gives training to a subordinate as his understudy or assistant. So, the other word meaning of an understudy is your assistant. The subordinate learns through his experience and observations. It prepares the subordinate to assume the responsibility of a superior's job in case of the superior leaves the organization. The purpose of the understudy is to prepare someone to fill the vacancy caused by the death, retirement, promotion, or transfer of his superior. Now we come on to a job rotation. What is job rotation? As the name suggests, it involves a rotation of the trainee from one job to another job to familiarize with the different jobs. The purpose of the job rotation is to broad base the knowledge and experience of the trainee. The trainee is periodically rotated from the job to job instead of sticking to one job to help acquire a general background of the different jobs. However, the frequent rotation of an employee from one job to another should be avoided and be allowed to a position for a sufficient period for acquiring a working knowledge of the job. Job rotation is used by many organizations to develop the generalist. Employees learn the new skills, they gain the experience in handling the different kind of jobs, they know the interrelationship better, also used the top place workers on the right jobs and prepare them to handle the other jobs in case of a need. Job rotation provides different perspectives to the executives. The executives is usually not simply going on to another department. Learning how the organization is perceived from outside borders, the executive's outlook about the process of the organizations and or the rotation might be to oversee the office, which provides a global perspective. Now, for the managers being developed for the executive roles, rotation to a different functions in the company is regularly carried out. This approach allows the manager to operate in the diverse roles and understanding the different issues that crop up. So, one must undergo this type of training to become a corporate leader. And it is the process of preparing the employees at a lower level to replace someone at the next higher level, and it is generally done for the designations which are crucial to effective and efficient functioning of the organization. So, job rotation is one of the prime important function for the organization's employees training. Job rotation, as we have discussed, is an organized and a very helpful way to develop the talent for the management at executive level in the organization. A recent study indicated that a single most significant factor which led to the leader's achievement was a variety of experiences in the different departments. the business units, the cities and the countries. So what does it mean? It means that if there is a job rotation and people are exposed to various kinds of roles in various kinds of business units, various kinds of cities and various kinds of countries, the learning experiences, the takeaways, the outcomes, the spillovers are the highest. So this is the benefit of a job rotation, and it offers the immense opportunities to the employees to broaden their horizons of the knowledge, skills, abilities by working in different departments, business units, functions and the countries. It helps the identification of the knowledge, skills, attitude required and indicates the areas where the improvement is required. Now, it also facilitates the assessment of the employees who have the potential and caliber for filling the various positions. So, I would now talk about the advantages of on-the-job training and the disadvantages of on-the-job training. The trainee learns in the actual job environment, so he is strongly motivated to learn. No adjustment is needed after the training, as the training is not located in the artificial situations. So, he can definitely comprehend very well when he sees the actual situation and when he actually sees what. So, he is actually sitting in the actual working conditions in which he has to put in his, the work environment is the same. So, it helps in learning the knowledge of the equipment actually used in the job. Now, let me come on to the disadvantage of on-the-job training. The training involves some interference in the normal work routines, and at the same time, the pressure of the work makes the concentration of the learning difficult. Now, the second point when you talk about the advantage of on-the-job training is what? The supervisor takes an active part in the training program, and the training is relatively cheaper, less time consuming, because the equipment and everything which he is going to save is required for the training is present there, and no separate equipment, accommodation, etc. is required. Now, what can be the probable disadvantages? Let us have a look on this. If the supervisory method is defective, the trainee learns the defective working methods. The effectiveness of training is dependent on the competence and the motivation of the supervisor, and there is no uniformity in the training, as well as the supervisor is different training units. Now, what is the suitability of on-the-job training? On-the-job training methods are appropriate for teaching knowledge, skills which can be learnt in a relatively short time and wherein there are less number of employees to be trained simultaneously for the same job. However, the success of on-the-job training methods to a great extent depends upon the trainer. If the trainer understands the training principles and the methods and takes interest in a proper training of the new employees, the chances that it will be done properly. On-the-job training methods are relatively cheaper, less time consuming, and if only a few persons are to be trained at the same time, it is cheaper for the employer to practice to on-the-job training. If the persons who are to be trained are bulk in number, then to accommodate them to the actual working conditions becomes difficult, and it takes less time to learn on the job. Moreover, the production does not suffer. Another important factor of on-the-job training is that the line supervisors take an important part in the training their subordinates. On-the-job training is an effective method of training the employees because it is a complete accord with the three basic laws of learning. The law of readiness. When a person confronts a job which is able to do and is interested to learn how to do it in the order or to hold it, the law of readiness is being satisfied. Such a situation presents a good incentive for learning. The law of exercise. The law of exercise is satisfied when a person is being trained on the job. He can immensely apply about what has been trained to understand and to do. The next is the law of effect. The law of effect is also satisfied through on-the-job training, and if the training is good and the new employee is intelligently dealt with by his supervisor, he has get a satisfaction out of his work and feels secured in his job. He will be more satisfied than he would have been if it has been left to learn by the trial and the error method. Now we are moving on to a very important part of today's lecture, that is the vestibule training. Vestibule means a cabin, and the term vestibule training is used to designate the training in a cabin where employees are trained in a special training center for semi-skilled jobs. A vestibule school is a replica of the workplace, and they try to inculcate the same working situations as they have to work in the actual working conditions. So there's no difference between the vestibule school and the actual workplace. It's just that it is differently placed, not in the actual working conditions, but it's created somewhere out so that the routine functioning of the organization is not hampered. So vestibule school is a replica of the workplace, and the vestibule school is an attempt to construct the actual conditions of a workplace as nearly as possible. The training is provided by a qualified instructors under a very carefully controlled learning conditions. The main emphasis is on the learning rather than the production. It is learning before doing as against learning by doing process of on-the-job training. Well-qualified instructors should be put in charge of a vestibule training program, and it is often used to train the clerks, machine operators, typists, etc. In this method, the classroom training is involved and imparted with the help of equipment and machines identical to those in use at the workplace. So theoretical training is given in the classroom and the practical work done in the production line. A vestibule school is run as a special endeavor of the personnel department. An attempt is made to replicate as nearly as possible the actual material equipment conditions at the real work time. It may be started when the training work exceeds the capacity of the line supervisors. Thus, in vestibule training, the workers are trained in a specific jobs in a school run by the organization. An attempt is made to create working conditions which are similar to the actual workforce and the workshop. The learning conditions are very carefully controlled. Now I am coming on to discussing about the advantages of a vestibule school and the disadvantages of a vestibule training. The trainees are not under any pressure of the work situation, and there they can concentrate fully on the learning and of course the training activities to do the internship with the regular process of production, and the training process is less time consuming due to better concentration by the trainees and special trainers. And when you talk about the vestibule school disadvantages, the vestibule training is expensive because it involves a duplication of material, equipment and conditions of the workplace. Workers do not contribute to the production during the training period because they are engaged in the learning only. The next advantage is the method improves and removes the initial nervousness of the trainees, as they are not put straight onto the job. The employees get an opportunity for a feeling of the job before getting into it, and though the particular uniform training is possible, as the learning conditions are very carefully controlled and designed. So it is possible to teach the best and the standardized method for a job. The disadvantage of vestibule training is that the artificial training atmosphere may create an adjustment problem for the trainees when they are actually placed on the job. So now the most vital aspect of the vestibule training, that is when it is suitable. So we will be discussing now about the suitability of the vestibule training. Vestibule training is suitable when a large number of the people are to be trained at the same time with the identical work. A vestibule school is established when it is not possible to provide training to the employees at the workplace. The vestibule training is particularly suitable when it is not advisable to put the burden of the training on line supervisors and where the special coaching is required. The staff of the vestibule school consists of an expert and a specific instructors. The trainees avoid confusion and the pressure of the work situation, and thus they are able to concentrate on the training part. Their activities do not interfere with the regular process of production, and moreover, the trainees get an opportunity to become accustomed to the more routine and recover from their initial nervousness before going on to the actual job conditions. It is more suitable when the large number of employees have to be trained at the same time and at the same kind of work. The apprenticeship training is very important. So let us now discuss about what is an apprenticeship training. Apprenticeship training programs usually combine on the job and the classroom instructions in a particular subjects. The trainees served as an apprentice, stipend is paid during their specific training periods. The government of various countries have enacted laws which can be obligatory for the employers in certain occupations to provide apprenticeship training to the young people. In India, employers in specific industries are required under the Apprenticeship Act of 1962 to train certain number of apprentices in the design trades. The trainees are imparted the knowledge and the skills in a particular craft or the series of related jobs. The major part of the training is spent on the job production work. The advantages of apprenticeship training to the trainees is that they receive the stipend during the course of the training. They actually have to acquire the valuable skills which carry a high price in the labor market. Apprenticeship programs serve as a source of a cheap labor for the employers, and apprenticeship training is desirable in industries such as the metal traders, printing, building, construction, which requires a constant flow of all-round craftsmanship. It is also popular for the training technical and the skilled personnel in craft like machines, mechanics, electricians, welders, etc. So we are through with the major part of our lecture today. We will be now moving on to the off-the-job training programs. As the name suggests, off-the-job training program has got the biggest merit that they are not disturbing the routine work, and the biggest merit of on-the-job training method is that they do not require the workers to be absent from their workplace. There is no disruption in the normal activities. However, when the training is very specialized, the use of sophisticated equipment is there, it needs a special trainers, it might not be feasible to provide the training which are on the job. For this very particular situation, the off-the-job training methods are lined up in the organization. Now, off-the-job training methods require a worker to undergo the training for a specific period away from the workplace. These methods are concerned with both the knowledge and the skills in doing the certain jobs. The workers are free of the intention of the work while they are learning. The off-the-job training methods take place away from the normal working conditions, implying that the employee is not counted as a direct productive worker during the course of the training. Off-the-job training has many advantages by allowing the people to get away from the work and concentrate thoroughly on the training part. This training has proven more effective in inculcating the concepts and the ideas, and often off-the-job training is simulated and hypothetical. Generally, the techniques being used are lectures, specific study films, televisions, conferences, discussions, case studies, role-playing, simulation, trained instructions, laboratory training, and there are several off-the-job methods of training and development as possible. Now we are on another method, that is a special lecture cum discussion. Every method has its particular advantages and the disadvantages. So now let us discuss certain aspects and different paradigms relating to a special lecture cum discussion. Lectures are formally organized talks by an instructor on specific topics. This method is very useful when philosophy, concepts, attitudes, theories, and the problem solving is to be discussed. This method is essential when special information or the technical information is to be disseminated. The lectures are often supplemented by discussions, film shows, case studies, role-playing, etc. Training through special lecture is also known as classroom trainings. It is more associated with imparting knowledge than with skills. Some executives of organizations or the specialists from vocational professional institutes may deliver the special lecture. Many firms invite experts for the special lecture for the staff on the matters like health, safety, production, quality, etc. There are certain aspects of all the jobs that can be learnt better in a classroom than on a job. Orientation about organization and safety training can be accomplished more effectively in the classroom, and the standard instructional method suitable for operative employees is a formal lecture by an instructor. The lecturer possesses considerable depth of the knowledge of the subject at hand and communicates thoughts in such a manner as to interest the class and cause trainees to return and retain what he has said. The trainees generally take notes of the aid to the learning. The lecture method can be used for providing the instructions to large group in a shorter time. Thus, the cost per trainee is a very low one. However, it has certain limitations also. The learners may be passive. It violates the principle of learning by doing and constitutes one-way communication. However, if the learners are permitted to ask the question, it provides the feedback to the instructors. The lecturers can easily be combined with the other techniques also. So, thus a teacher may conduct a class by combined classroom lecture cum discussion methods. He may be a lecturer. He may lecture only to add new information that the group does not possess. However, the formal reading assignment may be given, demonstration may be presented, and the video films may also be shown along with the lecture. The lectures are supplemented with the discussion, film shows, case studies, role playing, and this method is very useful for the concepts, attitudes, theories, problem solving, and it has to be discussed. So, these are essential when technical or a special information of the complex nature is to be imparted. The classroom, this method is also known as internship training. The theoretical instruction is provided to the trainees through the joint efforts of the employers and educational institutes. So, the employers send their employees to the technical or vocational training institutes, and the special courses are designed to address the method of the organization, wherein the lecture method is used for the instruction, and the lectures may be supplemented by group discussions, demonstration films, etc. Special courses may be designed by the line executives of the organization or for the specialist of the training institutes. Some of the organizations send a select employee regularly to the training and development programs run by the various educational institutes. Now, the purpose of the special courses is to provide advanced knowledge to a specific area for an effective performance of the job. The classroom training is suitable when the concepts, problem solving ability, attitudes, areas to be learned, or where the depth of the knowledge is required. The demonstration and the examples in this method, the trainer describes and demonstrates how to work by side explaining why and how of what he is doing. Emphasis under this method is to know the demonstration is often used in the combination with the lectures, pictures, text, material, discussion, etc. Principles, theory of a job is taught by some other method. Now, the next method is your conference and the seminars. The literary meaning of the conference is consultation, and the conference is held in accordance with the organized plan and implies a sharing of information with the audience of a large number of people. It is a group meeting in which the members they seek to develop the knowledge and understanding by the oral presentation, and the participants pool and discuss the ideas and the experiences to arrive at a better method of dealing with the mutual problems. The members of the group they teach each other and learn together. As a matter of fact, a person can learn from others by comparing his opinion with those of the others. He learns to respect the viewpoints of others and also realizes that there is more than one workable approach to any problem, and it is conducted in a big way by the participants, which are allowed to exchange the views and raise the queries. So, it is an effective training device for the persons in positions of both conference members and the co-leaders. The conference proceedings are conducted by a chairman who also sums up the proceedings. This method is ideally suited for analyzing the problems and the issues and explaining them for the different viewpoints. And it also helps in developing the conceptual knowledge, reducing the dogmatism and modifying the attitudes. So these days the video conferencing is gaining popularity, in which the people participate through a satellite link. Conferences may also include a buzz session and divide the conference into small groups, 4 and 5 intensive discussions. So these small groups report back to back to the whole groups with the conclusions and the questions. This method is ideally suited to analyze the problems and the issues and examples them for the different viewpoints, and this method helps in developing the conceptual knowledge, reducing the dogmatism and modifying the attitude. So this method is suitable for a small group of about 20 to 30. For the maximum benefits, the conference should have the knowledge of subject to be discussed, and they should be good stimulating leaders who can adopt a flexible attitude and encourage the members to express themselves without a fear. They should be able to control the verbose methods, and this method helps to develop the sensitivity to the thoughts and the feelings of the individuals, to summarize the material to appropriate timings during a discussion, and ensures the general consensus points without forcing the agreements or sidestepping disagreements also. In seminars or the team discussions, the group learners through discussion of a paper on a selected subject. The paper is written by 1 or 2 more trainees. Discussions may be of a statement made by a person in charge of a seminar or a document prepared by an expert. The material to be analyzed is distributed in advance in the form of a required reading, and the seminars offer a brainstorming platforms wherein more and more one brain work on solving work related problems. So it is a sort of a problem solving situation used to teach the learners to withhold the judgment until a maximum number of ideas have been generated. So it is also used to train the people to listen positively to the ideas of the others, refraining from negative comments. Brainstorming requires the people of a group to think about the ideas and express them after suspending the everything else for a while. The seminars may include the lectures by external experts as well, and the seminars can be within the organization, or the trainees can be nominated to participate in being organized by the other institutions. So this brings together the people at a platform to discuss the various work related issues, and this helps in understanding the others' viewpoints and making themselves understood to make the solutions of a problem they may not be able to solve. So let us discuss now a last case study. A case study is a method of simulating the experience in the classroom. The trainee are given a real imaginary business case or a situation which is more or less related to the concepts and the principles already taught. The group members are trained to identify the problem, suggest the alternatives, tackling them, analyzing them, finding out the comparative suitability, and arrive at the best solution. So the trainers, they guide the discussion and give them during the process, ensures that no relevant aspect is left out and the adequate time is spent on each aspect, and this method gives the trainee an opportunity to apply his knowledge to the solution of a real-time cases, which promotes the analytical thinking and the problem-solving ability. It encourages the open-mindedness, patient listening, respecting others' views, and integrating the knowledge obtained from the different basic disciplines. The trainees become increasingly aware of the obscurities, contradictions, and uncertainties encountered in a business. So in this method, a real hypothetical business situation or the situation demanding solution is presented to a group, and the members or the trained to identify the problems, to suggest the alternatives, to tackle them, to analyze them, to evaluate them, and each alternative to compare the adaptability and decide them for a best solution. The trainer guides in discussions and ensures that no relevant aspect is left out, adequate time is spent on each aspect, and this method is extensively used in the professional schools of law, supervisory, executive training programs in the industry as well. The cases may be used in 2 ways. Firstly, they can be used subsequently to the explanation of the formal theory under which the trainees apply their knowledge to the subsequent specific situation, and secondly, the trainees may be assigned the cases for the written analysis and the oral discussions in the classroom without any prior information of the pertinent concepts and the theory. The case study places heavy demands upon the trainees and requires that they should have the good deal of maturity in the subject matter concerned. The comprehension of the cases can also be different, and it is varied. The trainers has to put forward the underlying ideas of the case so that it is understood in a proper perspective. The next is your role playing. The role playing is a technique in which the employees are presented with a real situation, environment and some findings of the case situation, and they need to exhibit the same in the forms of the roles. It also gives us spontaneous interactions involving a realistic human behavior under the artificial or simulated environment, and it consists of the interviews or the series of interviews in which the trainees are provided with a role brief and a set of circumstances which they need to interact. This technique not only leads to a self-learning about expected job outcome, but also helps in understanding other perception about the task or the issues. The role played by the trainee helps in analyzing the various skills involved in role, right from their domain conceptualization, design and human skills, and thus helps in designing a broader understanding and a clear outlook towards the task. This method is also very, very important in case of a social drama or a psychodrama. In this method, the trainees act out of a different role play which they have to do. So with these words, I hope the methods of the various overall training methods are very clear, which are on the job and the off the job. So as per the situation and the circumstances, it is customized and it is put forward for the organization for the best learning experience. Thank you.